Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, this time reviewing on Transformers Spotlight Blurr. Now, as you know, Transformers Spotlight was meant to feature a main story featured with an Autobot or Decepticon, like Cliff Chomper, Rodimus, Megatron, Shockwave, and so many others. One of which I did cover was Cliff Chomper's story. This time I'm covering Blurr's. Now, the cover is meant to be a variant cover, with Blurr being as quick as the Flash. And it starts off how many years ago during the Golden Age, Blurr was originally a racer, with his team going, "Final jerks, prepared for and ready, Blurr." And so we see him getting ready for the finishing line, and basically him going against the other racers, and is meant to be super fast, and of course does let fame and glory get to his head. And the team is like saying, "This is incredible! You'll set a new track record again, Blurr. Huh, won't stand for long." And so pretty much you can tell Blurr's got a friendly rival known as Fast Track, and of course Blurr basically talks about celebration, so him and his team have got something planned for Blurr, but of course they've got a better place known as the Circle, and of course they head off, and that, with one of Blurr's team saying, "The Circle? But they won't let us, bots like us, we can't get in there. Come on, let's clear up the gear." And so we see how they go into one of these fancy nightclubs, and basically everyone asking questions, one of which a news reporter asks about his thoughts on the current events, but Blurr has no idea about it, and they go in. And of course, Blurr and Fast Track have a few drinks. They see basically two Transformers getting high on drugs, but of course they don't care as they're still celebrating. But of course this is tragically cut short when the racetrack is blown up, and of course Blurr and Fast Track find out from their manager that the races are cancelled until further notice, which he says that this came from Zeta Prime. And of course he says, "Get the hell out of here, will ya? You're making me feel bad." And of course, Blurr sees that Piston's getting ready to join the Autobots, and wants him to pick a side, and knows that he can do good, and of course, leaves. And we see Blurr going to the nightclub to find out no one's here, and that basically it's a war zone outside, but the bartender still lets him have a few drinks. And of course, Blurr ends up meeting Starscream, who says, "I always felt that was the province of the weak, not the strong. Who are you? A friend." And of course tries to get him to join the Decepticons, and making him feel like he needs power and all that. And of course does give him the Decepticon card, and asks him to pick a side. So we see how Blurr transforms and drives out, until being saved by Cliff Chomper. And of course they manage to get away safely, and it turns out that Fast Track was became a Decepticon, and Piston tragically died. And of course this is where Blurr meets Optimus, and knows who Piston was. And Optimus says that he's seen his sort of like racing team before, and knows that Blurr's racing breed is more faster and stronger. And of course Optimus does point out that they're trying to rescue Zeta Prime from an assassination team, and they know Blurr can do this. And of course Blurr finally realizes that it's not about him, and decides to try and do the right thing. And of course Cup says, "You really think that trinket's got what it takes. And of course manages to run through and takes out Skywarp and heads off to rescue Zeta Prime. And this is the story. So, Spotlight's Blurr is an okay issue. Personally, I felt you could have had Fast Track be Blurr's twin. You even could have had it that Fast Track only joined the Decepticons, as it feels more power over that, to make it kind of like a brother thing. And I felt you could have had Piston saving Blurr and having him decide what's best for him. It would have been a bit of a better story, but this one is still alright. So I think it deserves a thumbs up. Still good, and still alright. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.